That pedal.
Really? I was taking a selfie, dude.
Are you serious?
Okay.
Let me see where Leah is. Pop up Leah. Hey girl. Hey. Okay, listen, I'm just gonna say that both of your mouth look like y'all were eating cherries.
I mean, cherries are always the best thing on top.
That's all right. That's all.
Come
Okay,
back.
that was great. Okay, come back. Bring it on back. Bring it on back. Ladies, how you doing today? Tonight, I should say. How y'all doing tonight?
I can't hear you, Leah.
Leah,
No.
can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yep.
Like me now? No. I'm tired. I'm tired. It's been a long, long day, but happy to be here with my fam. I love it. Y'all give me some energy.
Listen,
Gotcha.
hey, I look forward to Mondays
Yo, listen.
I look forward to
Quest is in the green room,
that.
and he's saying, "Let me in." He's saying, "Let me in," and I just want to
Like,
see him grovel. I want to see him grovel a little bit. You know what I mean? Like,
Make it wait. Make him suffer.
he's like, "Don't play with me. I'm right by the water. Don't play with me. Don't play with me." Boom.
Yo, I'm just, hey, I'm letting you know if there was ever a time to gravel, this ain't gonna be that time. I will, con- I will kindly take my happy behind outside.
Yo, listen.
Yeah.
What was on you, Sade? How was your week, or how was your day?
You know what? All I can say is God answers prayers. Like
Hmm.
a mental health day today. And it was much needed just to process everything that's happening in life, at work, personal. And like when I say God made me smile and chuckle from the inside, it was a good
God
day.
That's
made
all.
you smile and chuckle on the inside.
Then
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. Okay.
yeah, yeah,
I would ask Quest out,
yeah.
but he's on vacation.
I don't even want to hear from Quest. Look,
I'm
he
just trying to
came
figure
out
out why
here just beaming like a sun.
we're just trying to figure out why he's
Let
so
me, let me say this to you. I won't talk about too much about the vacation, but what I will talk about is driving through the island and contemplating why am I still in the States?
Hmm.
So you would move. You would move. Would you move?
Would I move? Bro, let me say this, and this is nothing to say anything bad against the United States. It's where I was born, it's where I grew up. Um, but I'm first generation born in the States. So there's still a part of me, there's still a part of the West Indies that's very vibrant, very strong, alive and
Hmm.
well in my blood. And
Got you.
anytime I come to any one of the islands, there's something inside that wakes up immediately.
Hmm.
Just walking through, and the little bit of Spanish I do know that I was talking, like the connection is there. Like we went into this one store, and my son Nico, he's very fluent. We on the way to the beach, so we decided let's buy one of them styrofoam coolers, fill it up with ice or whatever the case may be. I said, Nico, you up to bat, so you're gonna have to communicate. He was like, Daddy. I was like, yo, you speak fluent Spanish. You in Puerto Rico. What's the problem? He goes in the store and immediately starts
Boom.
firing on. Buenos días. He said, Buenos días, me llamo Nico. I'm talking about running off, and I just stand back like this.
That's my boy. My man's like, that's
That's
my
me right
boy. So you could do
there.
that. You could do your thing. You could move out there.
I'm telling you, I could live here. Faith and I have been having these conversations as of late on what it feels like to be an expat or what it would look back like to be an expat. You know what I'm saying? We looked at places like Costa Rica, we looked at Panama, we looked at Belize. We're still having it's an ongoing conversation now. But the rest of the family was here, and the question, the conversation became a little bit thicker. Like her
Hmm.
cousins and stuff were like, we contemplating what life looks like outside of the country, or being like a what they call a digital nomad.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
I'm just telling you, there's something about being on the island and interacting with the people that don't feel the same way at home.
Wow. Wow.
I don't know what that is. Well, when I go to Jamaica, I immediately fall into my element.
Right.
It's weird for me to do that here because I don't fluently speak the language, but there's a kindred kind of spirit.
Uh huh.
Like I can't properly put it into words to explain to you, but yeah, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Where have you gone, Sade, that you wouldn't mind moving to?
Ooh. I mean, okay, so it's still technically the States, but I love Hawaii. Um,
Ooh,
Hawaii is absolutely beautiful. It is, I think people, even though they're still technically the United States, people that do not live in the continental United States are just genuinely friendlier. Um,
hmm,
Jamaica, yeah, would definitely go and but I think the thing that's kind of interesting is that when you go on vacation, you can romanticize a place. So if
Mm-hmm.
I were to go somewhere the next time, I would have to go and not be a tourist and like literally like go into the city and experience
Mm-hmm.
those things because my experiences have been romanticized. But I love
Mm-hmm.
the water. I love beaches. I love water. So
That thing you talking to too, Sade, like where we are right now, this is not the tourist. We rented out an entire house.
oh yeah.
Like and it's got like about 12 different bedrooms. It's got, you know what I'm saying? It's one of those. It's an
Yeah.
Airbnb is what it is.
Mhm.
Yes. So we
Leah
did the local thing. Yeah. We did the local thing. We're not doing because
tourist.
this is Faith's family. They from Puerto Rico. So, you know what I'm saying? This is home for them. When I go to Jamaica, I don't well let me not say that. I do the resort thing, but before I do the resort thing, I do the family thing because there's no way for me to go there, do resort and don't do family and not get clean cussed out. You know what I'm saying? But this is an American territory, so I
Mhm.
didn't need a passport to come here. US dollars are used here. So those are the things that are like, man, you know what I'm saying? But still, just being on the island, there's something about island life and the people. And for me, just having 75, 80-degree weather all year round,
You
like
see,
that's
I'm in a
enough for me.
sweatshirt. You see, I'm in a
Come
sweatshirt.
on, come
Uh,
on.
I'm sorry, I had to run. So they said Jamaica.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I visited a couple of times and I enjoyed myself, but like I said, I would go and not be a tourist. I would have to, like I said, we romanticize places, so I would
Mhm.
go and just see what it's like. Leah, do you have? Oh, I know you all are like West Indian. Woo woo woo. I'm American, like full blood.
Leah is American. Aren't you American, Leah?
Do you have
I'm
any?
American, but I do have roots from Barbados and from Cuba. So my grandmother is it is weird, right? Because my entire life they were like she was from Barbados, right? And then my cousin and I we were doing some research and found out that maybe she actually originated from Cuba and then made her way there then to New York, right? So I don't know. I figured, the hood in me, right? Want to cut was the Cuban part. I don't know. But yeah, I for real would
I know
love
what I know what I want to say, but this is PG-13.
yeah.
Your
Don't
grandmother she's Barbadian, but she had Cuban in her. All right,
I,
listen.
but my spot though that I absolutely love is Cabo in Mexico.
Really?
When I say absolutely beautiful, like Lonnie and I were
Yeah,
just talking the other night at the next go round in about a month and a
the
half.
next
Yeah,
the
it's
next go round.
yeah, amazing.
I got you. I got you. Let me hear Ali with this one. Ali, if you and Denise could move away from the
Mhm.
states, where would you move?
Uh, move away from the states. That's a great question, man. I probably I'm speaking for her, which so I could be dead wrong, but I it'd probably be an island. I don't know which one, but it would probably be an island.
Okay, Dana Bean is on. Dana Bean is on. She says, what we're talking about. We didn't get to what we're talking about yet, but Dana Bean is on. I love Bermuda.
I keep hearing
Absolutely.
that it's amazing.
Say it
I,
again.
I keep hearing that Bermuda is amazing. Never been, but yeah.
Bermuda is sweet, man. Bermuda is sweet. I like Bermuda.
Can I tell
I
you
think,
this? When I first went to Oakwood, mind you, I'm a Texan. Okay, Texan. My family's from Louisiana. Our story starts with the
Mm.
slave that ended in New Orleans. That's what I know.
okay.
When I
Okay.
went to Oakwood, all these Caribbean people, I was like, how people tell us to say certain things. I was like, say telephone. I was like, oh, it's so amazing. And it was just like that's one thing I tell anybody. One thing I love about being black is that we're not a monolithic people, right? And
Okay.
being at Oakwood, I experienced Curry Go for the first time. I experienced like just and there's such pride. Like I'm from Texas, but oh, they take it to Yeah,
Okay,
go ahead.
wait. Somebody has feedback. Who got feedback there?
I think it's Quest.
I think it's you, Quest. Quest, is you with the
Is that
feedback?
good now?
Yep, it's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So let me just share this with you all. And here's a thought, right? I had a friend of mine. She just came back from a wedding, and at this wedding, the bride, I'm just saying, was black. The groom was white. All right. Um, I gotta tell you, right? This is not a. I'm asking you this, not just black and white, right? Because we're also talking about culture or what have you.
Hmm.
Is it, if you have children? I know you have children. Lee, you have children. Of course, you have children, and then First Lady is looking to have five. Listen closely, right?
Oh,
Do you want your son, Ollie?
Won't he do it?
Right, right, right. What about you, Leah? What about you? How do you think about your children dating outside of their race or outside of their culture? What's your thought? What's your thoughts?
Paul, do you really want to go there tonight?
I just
like,
yeah. Listen. You, I think you. And listen, don't get me wrong. I think your children love who they love. Fine. I'm not talking about. I'm not talking about idealistically, right? I'm just asking. You know, what's your thoughts? Just what's your thoughts?
All right,
Look, hey man, love is love.
I'll jump in.
All right,
Come on.
cool.
I'll jump in. So I'm not going to be as shotgun as to say I would be against it. However, they would definitely need to know the potential that they might be up against.
Ooh, I like that. I like that. I
Like
like that.
like we're not gonna be able to go into that blind. Like you're gonna need to know, okay, hey, listen, here's the potential of what you could face. And you just gotta make a decision as to whether you are willing to face that or not. Now, there are gonna be some things that I am not gonna be willing to face because I didn't marry them.
mm,
So
Mm.
that means that although you will get support from me, there will be some situations where you will be fending for yourself because you'll get my support, but you may not get my involvement because my involvement may come from a place of my bias, which could cause more problems for you in the long run.
Wow. So would you say, Ali? I'm just saying, right? Are you biased for a reason, or are you
I
biased
mean,
just to be biased?
it could be a little bit of both, if I'm being honest.
Okay.
I think sometimes this is a tough. I decided to go first so that if I end up on the chopping block, that's fine. Because
No.
it's a tough situation,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So if I'm being honest, there are going to be some biases that are just there based on my experience,
mhm.
and some of those biases, or let me say this, some of those experiences, maybe I have not chosen to let go of.
Wow. You have not chosen to let go of.
It's possible. Some of them I've probably grown beyond because I've just gotten mature with age and have learned how to deal with people and learn how to exhibit self-control and learn how to be diplomatic and that kind of thing. However,
Okay.
when you're talking about now joining yourself with someone else and you're talking about that joining being a lifetime commitment, you're going to need to know that some of these things that I have the ability to walk away from, you won't be able to.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh wow. Okay. That's fair. And I love what you're saying, Ali, and I get what you're saying, and I get where you are. So I'm gonna go to Sade real quick. Sade, you're still in the dating pool.
I am.
Okay. Would you date someone
No,
outside of your rate?
no. And to Ali's point, I have very real biased because I've had firsthand experience.
Hmm.
I think a lot of people think my age group doesn't know the struggle, but I've literally had the Klan ride by my house.
Mm.
Um, I've had a teacher switch my grades with a child in special ed because she didn't want me to be the only black girl in the advanced classes in high school. So one thing my mother taught me was, she said, "You can marry whoever you want." She said that person can love you. She said, "But I promise you, to somebody in his family, you always gonna be what they perceive you to be." And I also say I want a son, right? Um,
Wow. Wow.
and I, a man that doesn't look like me cannot prepare a black boy to be a black man in our society. You can train him to be a good person, not taking that away from you, but you don't know what it feels like to be stopped by the police simply because of the color of your skin, right?
Okay.
And I can't teach that to my son. So for me, I always say if I didn't want children, maybe I would consider it. But to be honest, I love black men. I love the way black men think. I love the way black men process. I love the fact that when healed, black men are some of the most amazing men to be around.
Wait, so you
So
can't find a white man that you like the way he think. You can't find a Chinese man the way he think. I mean, the Asian. I'm sorry. You can't find someone of.
I just want to say, yeah, shouts out. She love the way black men think. Yeah,
I love
Hey, 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 listen. And let me put up what Wedge said. Wedge, I don't know if you were Wedge from Atlanta. He's like that part.
I mean, the truth of the situation is I have been loved by, I have been protected by, I have been valued by black men. And it's not to say that I couldn't find it, but I'm not even putting myself in a position to be found by them,
Okay.
right?
Wow.
I don't go where they go. I don't frequent where they frequent. So I'm putting myself to be in a position to be found by a black man. And
My
I
black
think
man.
you have to even look at it even further. I've always said I, marrying somebody else from the South would be a struggle because I would.
Really?
Yeah. Like when you're from the South, you learn everything is black and white. Everything. Like
Okay.
if I go into a restaurant and they don't speak, it's because I'm black. If I go into a store and they don't speak, it's automatically because I'm black. You learn to look at life that way. And I've always said if I had a child, I would want them to have a balance. Yes, that could be the reason, but what if they're fully busy and everything? Like, I don't think that way. So I would want my spouse to be able to say, okay, Sade, that's your perspective, but you do see there's 50 people in the store right now, right? So it's
Okay.
not
Okay. I got you.
so culturally, like there's so many aspects of dating and being with someone that you just kind of have to figure out like what works best, like what's the vibe that works best for you.
Okay. Before I go down to Doc, let me go up to Leah for a second. Leah, what's your thoughts? Because you straight got two daughters, right? Right, Leah, two daughters, right? All
Yeah,
right, hit me with it.
daughters. Um, so coming from the perspective of just Leah, right? I have been socialized um, in an all black institution, right, from first to 12. Then I matriculated from there to another all black institution at HBCU, right? And so, to me, I love my people, right?
Okay. Okay.
And people, kind of see me as like, she's super pro black. Yes, I am. Um, because that is how I was reared and shaped from a very early age. Now, of course, there are, situations in which people have shared with me, right, familially. They've shared their experiences. So when I just talked about the Barbados scenario, right, my grandmother being from there, her mother was English, right? She was from England. She was a white woman, right? Her father was straight from Africa. When
Mm.
Ooh.
they got together, right? He, because they were together, she was disowned. They owned a match factory in Barbados. and they disowned her. So there went our inheritance, right? The legacy down the line. So I have to look at some of these things, right? That's one. Then I have my father who never graduated from high school, not because he was not a brilliant man, but because there were white teachers that did not give him the same opportunities as what, they would give white students. So I
Right.
have all of these different like things that's being given to me and passed on to me that is taking right residence and it takes root. So I tell folk, white people are white people first. And I'm just kind of looking at it from a white and black perspective, not an Asian, not,
Sure.
Hispanic, whatever it may be. Right. So just
Sure.
from a black and white perspective, the reality is that they're going to be white first, just like I'm going to be black first.
I
My
got you. I got you.
children getting married into that scenario may potentially, right, put them in a space where they are not understood, and from a historical context, whatever their mate has been shaped in, right? I see someone saying cultural berry, whatever it is that they've been shaped in is going to eventually show up in their marriage.
Okay.
If somebody says something out of pocket to my kids, it's going to be a problem.
I got you. I got you.
It's
Right.
gonna
Right.
be a
Right. Right.
problem because
Okay.
when we marry into family systems, yeah, it's them, but it is also right. The families can become very contentious over time because if my
Got you.
child is hurting, you think I'm gonna just sit there and let my babies hurt?
Mhm.
Absolutely not.
So let me
So
so let me
I have
so, right. Now, so
yeah.
let me be clear, right? Because let me tell you what I'm hearing so far, right? I don't hear no hate right now.
Hmm,
What I'm hearing is preference for a reason. I just want to say,
hmm,
right? But Emmy just made a comment here. Stick close, Doc. Emmy just made a comment here. She says, "Can we talk about language and cultural barriers when dating?" Because remember, we're not going to get stuck on white and black, right? We're not going to get stuck on. We're also talking about there's some cultural issues here. I know that Ali, your folks come from Ali, your mom and dad,
Yep, Trinidad and Grenada,
Trinidad and Grenada. You married someone from England
Jamaica.
and Jamaica, right? His kids are. Your son is, your son is jacked up, man. No, what I'm saying is that can be great cultural wise.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? It can be great cultural wise. But let's look at Quest for a moment. Quest, your wife is Hispanic. Any barriers? What's your thoughts?
Other than we speak two different, I mean, other than the language barrier, which is not a language barrier because she speaks English, right? But that's only the real thing here. If there are any differences, the differences come when we have to deal with parenting because she was raised in a home where her father wasn't present, and I was raised in a home. Those are the only things that really happened. It was funny because as I was riding through the island today, I felt a sense of home because it feels the infrastructure, everything, just the total feel of the island feels like Jamaica.
Uh,
And let people can say what they want to in terms of culture when you come from the different islands, but when you come from the islands, the feeling is all the same. The infrastructures may be different a little bit, but the feeling is all the same. In terms of culture, I don't think there's. I'm trying to see what the difference would be, and
So
well,
because
maybe as we talk, I'll
you
be
find
able
it?
to figure
Okay,
it
good,
out.
good,
Yeah.
good.
because my question is, I in my experience, I've been interested in a gentleman where his mother was from the islands, and I was never going to be good enough for her son because I was not from the islands, right?
Mhm.
Even if you're from the islands, you're not going to be good for a son.
And
Yeah.
I think the difference is no, and I'm saying this with the utmost respect. I
Good.
believe some women, like because they understand that island dynamic, they retreat when certain things are said or when certain
Mm,
you cannot come in my house and tell me how I'm going to run things and your son jumps when you say jump. Like that's
I
not
was
going to
just
happen.
about.
that's
I was just about to say he will be the defining factor as to how far she can go because I'll
That's a
tell you
fact.
this.
That's it.
When I first got married, my mom, like I was living in Atlanta at the time, it wasn't nothing for me to hop in the car and drive 7 hours to Sarasota to go see about whatever. When I got married and we decided to move to North Carolina, it ain't a 7 hour drive no more. It's a 9 or 10 hour drive now. And then on top of that, a year later, I just had a baby. So I can't just call and you be like, no, we're not gonna do that. And if you want to have us come down at any point in time, what I'm going to need you to do is talk to Faith because she's the one that plans all the vacations and controls the calendar. So if you want to talk, and then she would try to circumvent the process and call me, and I would have to say, we spoke about this before. I'm going to ask you to call her because number one, I was fourth. They already had good relationship because they knew each other from high school. But you know how mothers are with their sons sometimes. You just feel like
Man,
you know what I'm saying? It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? If you're a boy mom, you're a boy mom. You know what that is. And I had to constantly put that in front of her, like, yo, I, it was and I feel like it was my responsibility to make sure that you're not having me do stuff that puts me in trouble with my wife. Because once where you were the priority, I'm not saying it disrespectfully, but you're not the number one priority now. Now she's the number one priority, and you got to take a backseat to that. And for some mothers, that's difficult,
it
right?
is.
There's a hierarchy, but
And I
she's the number one. Yeah.
I even think
Yeah.
about cultural differences spiritually, right?
Hmm.
And how you can be members of the same church, but culturally things are totally different.
Totally different.
We
And
Totally
see that
different.
here in the States. Some are
yeah,
conservative, some are liberal. You know what I'm
and
saying?
it's like
So.
how do you navigate, like, and I think we always talk about it, it's the conversations, it's the
Hmm.
we have to do these check-ins, but I don't want my, oh, that was country, I do not
Mm.
want my house to look like the house you grew up in, right? Like I want it to be our home. And when it
That's
comes to
it.
spirituality, I think so many people are like, well, this is how I see it and this is how I see it. So we're just gonna do it whatever. And that compromise I think is tough, especially culturally, when it comes to what is it okay if our children want to eat meat? Is it okay if our children don't want to go to church on the Sabbath? Like all of these things that come up when
Right.
you're actually trying to forge a family and make your own, like, this is who we are outside of how we were raised.
Okay, hold
But
on one
here's the
second. Doc,
thing.
go ahead. Doc, I want to hear what your thought. You got two daughters. Am I right? Am I right?
Two. Where you get that from? A son
What you
and a daughter.
a son and a daughter. I'm sorry. Hey, listen.
Are we talking about what? Interracial relationships?
Just cultural, race, any difference.
Okay. I will say this. I think it becomes a problem when you are of a um, a specific ethnicity and you solely date. You see what I'm saying? I'm looking for, if you black and you're
That's
like,
what
I
you
don't want black guys no more. I just want white guys, or I don't
Okay.
want black women no more because I just want white women.
Okay.
And I would say this: you you never know where you're gonna find love. You see what I'm saying?
Wow. That's
You
true.
never know where you're gonna find love.
Because
And
look at
so
Leah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
if you are constantly
She wasn't listening.
looking for, you could be wandering around for years looking for a black man, a black woman, but you have prayed to God to bring you someone. And God has been bringing you someone of a different ethnicity, but you're saying, I don't want to deal with this person. I don't want to deal with this person. I don't want to deal with this person. And so you
Hmm.
keep passing up on what he's bringing you. Not only that, but you can marry somebody that's from the same ethnic background, same culture, and have all kind of problems in your relationship. It doesn't guarantee that marrying of the same is going to produce a strong relationship or whatever. You hear all the time, well, they won't understand your struggle.
Right.
Who's struggling? Who's struggling?
Mm,
Everybody's
mm,
struggling.
mm,
What
mhm,
struggle are we talking about? What struggle are we talking about? This ain't 1965. And I get it. I get it. But at the same time, what kind of struggles are we facing?
Uh-huh.
that no one is going to be able to understand, because if you get somebody who has studied up on your history, hell, half of us don't even know our own history. And it takes other people. When I was in college, I roomed with some Asian dudes, and Oliver probably knew him or whatever. I was embarrassed because them jokers was reading an autobiography of Malcolm X, and I had never read it. I had
Mm,
never read it.
mm.
I said, man, let me get up on what's going on in my own so I can understand. You see what I'm saying? So it's
Got you.
like you never know where you're going to find love. But if you have a preference, you could actually bypass somebody who is actually designed for you, but you keep trying to go here and you wander aimlessly around about for years trying to focus on something. It's like, I've been praying to God and he been bringing you somebody. And it's just like, but yeah, remember that old story they used to tell back in the day when you said, when the lady was trying to get prepared for Jesus to come and people kept coming and he said, the sun set and she was like, Jesus never came. He said, I visited you every time I came here, but you never let me in because you were preparing for me or whatever. Sometimes we get prepared. We're prepared for, and he brings you somebody, but you're like, that's not who I want.
Listen, right before we begin, thanks, Doc. I love that, Doc. I love that. You're getting a lot of, in fact, you're getting a lot of feedback on that one. Emmy is joining us today. Come on, Emmy. Come on, there she go. There we go. Emmy, could you turn your camera? Could you turn your phone this way? Turn your phone this way. Let's see if it pop. No, she got one of them expensive phones. All right, go back.
No. Take your lock off. You have your screen locked.
Let me see.
Because somebody, I think it was.
Now
All right, let's. Hey, that's good enough. Right, right. Wait, turn it down. All right, let's leave it right there. Let's leave it right there. Who just left? Who just left? Okay.
Armina.
Armina made the comment that she would move to DR. Well, we have somebody on from the DR right now. All right. So, Emmy, you had a thought, and your thought was, can we talk about language and cultural barriers when dating? All right. Where's your heart? Where's your mindset on that?
I think I'm Dominican, Hispanic. My first language is Spanish. So I think at times it's really hard to date an African American man. It's all I've not all I've ever dated, but most most of it. And I feel like there's a lot of um, like trauma, right, that you have to sort of endure. And at times myself, I've gone through a lot of those things, and just like Dr. Terry just said, like there's a lot of things I don't know about where I come, my culture, things like that, not only because I may be uneducated on the fact, but I was brought to the US when I was very young. So there's a lot of missing pieces. And then dealing with somebody else's trauma on top of that is
Wow.
sort of, it's like extremely difficult and hard to sort of surpass and see eye to eye. It's not attacking each other, or it feels like we're attacking each other, or I have more trauma than you, and you don't understand because of your skin complexion and certain things along those lines, and it could be very difficult.
Mm,
Can I comment on what he just said? When
yeah.
I was a school counselor, I served Black and brown babies primarily. And I told my assistant principal, who was Spanish speaking, I said, when a brown baby comes to me frustrated and they speak Spanish, I'm going to bring them to you. I said, because that's their emotional language. And for me to
Mm,
try to get them to speak English to communicate, mind you, I'm working with kindergartners, first graders, and second graders. These big emotions with words they haven't learned yet, it's unfair, right? So I think sometimes that produces in adulthood, right? My emotional language may be foreign to you, Emmy, right? If you don't understand my dialect, if you don't understand what certain things mean to me, then that could come off as me trying to attack you. But I'm just speaking in my emotional language, and that presents itself all the time. And so I
mm,
think we have to be considerate and think about, the cultural differences, the language differences, the trauma experiences that aren't even my trauma. I have trauma from listening to my grandmother talk about how she grew up, right? And and I'm not far removed from it. My mother was born the day MLK gave his "I Have a Dream" speech, so my family is not far removed from the
I'm
trauma.
sorry. You said your mother was born the day he gave the speech.
Yeah, August
Oh,
28th.
your mom young. Your mom's a youngin.
So again, so like I said, I know my family story starts with my great great grandfather coming here on a slave ship, right? So if you dismiss to like Terry's point when he said, "What struggle do we have?" I have friends who they get frustrated because they're being overlooked at work, and their wives who are not black are like, "Well, it's just the culture, it's just what's happening." But you want to call me
Sade,
somebody
how old is your mama?
62?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Yeah, so
That's
you'll call
Carry
me.
on, carry on, carry
carry
on.
on. Carry on.
That's not okay. Leave my mother.
Welcome, 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 mama. Welcome,
They
welcome, mama.
Give me a call, ma.
no call me and want to dump all of this stuff on me because I see it from their perspective. I'm like, see, this isn't fair. You married someone who doesn't understand this, but then you want to come to me when it's convenient to say, let me tell you what's going on.
Well,
Like,
well, okay. Well, let me ask this question, Emmy. In what? Because you know we don't want you to put your business out there, but what do you think can heal a barrier like that? What do you think can heal a barrier like that? Or I can ask. No, hold on. No, I'm not gonna ask you, Leah. What do you think can heal a barrier like that?
A communication barrier or a
If,
trauma barrier?
hey, maybe both, right?
I mean, I believe that there needs to be an honor, right, of the individual. You have to
Okay.
definitely engage in patience. You know, if you care enough, you'll lean in to the culture of that individual to desire to learn more. But I think what I also heard from Emmy is there's a part of, you know, her culture that she's unaware of, right? Like there are some
Mm,
missing pieces. So even if she's dating someone that's outside of her culture, right, or her race, because as much as we don't like to focus in on color or race, it is a social construct, right? And there
okay.
is culture that's immersed in that. Racism is a culture, right? It is a way, it is a lifestyle. So, you know, we can't excuse some of these things because we want to walk very gingerly on the topic. It is what it is, right? But the reality is if I don't really know, then I don't know how to give you the information to then come together with me. We're both learning. So if an individual is willing to kind of grow with you, then
Wow.
okay, that's great. But it still doesn't stop some of the discrepancies, some of the issues. Like Sade said, you know, if I'm married outside or I'm dating outside of my race or my culture, and I have a very difficult day and I try to bring that to you, you might be looking at me like, what's the issue? Because it's not a problem for you. It's
Mm,
for me. So how do you hold space for my issues when it doesn't affect you? Right?
wow. 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 Could you know in our talk today, right? Well, going back and forth the bridge, somebody put up, I don't know who it was. I think maybe it was you um um it was what's wrong with me? I'm sorry.
I don't know. I wasn't I was
No,
busy.
no, it's Armina, the African sister. Um, who put it up about? Okay, what was it about Adventists and cult and being a cult? Who put that
Oh,
up?
yeah. That was
Oh,
Sade.
Sade. Okay, and we all know that Sade was late with that one, right? Because that came out. That was a big fight long time ago.
never
And we're
heard of
talking about the Jackie Hill Perry and her husband.
Yes,
yeah.
that was that was a long time ago. So I'm glad that you haven't been playing on your social media for some time before. I don't know what fast you were on, but some of some of the cultural issues. I'm going to give you an example, right? Emmy is just became a I'm just saying 70 Adventist or that level of that culture. What's going to happen if she dates a Bible toting?
Oh, oh,
She,
oh,
she,
oh.
she in trouble.
Doesn't the Bible tell us that we need to be equally yoked? Can we
So
can we go down that path?
So
Yeah. Okay.
I'm gonna jump in. Hi everybody.
Hi.
Hi.
So I was gonna jump in. I see culture in the same alliance as being unequally yoked. So you could literally be married to someone who looks like you, is from the same region as you, but your core values don't necessarily align with each other within the marriage.
Okay.
That happens, you run into some of the same things that it would look like if you are from two different worlds. Um, I mean, I think about how love may be, and sometimes we say it is a universal language, but culture is the accent it carries, right? And
Mm-hmm.
if we really think about that, it tells us that love is something that people all over the world experience. However, the way it's expressed, understood, and received is really shaped by our culture and the region in which we come from. So,
Wow. Wow.
yeah, and then to answer the second question, I would say, if we can find what our core values are within the relationship and align with it, then we have hope. And if we celebrate each other's differences, it can the snowball of hope continues to roll on. And so I mean, I would say that like that definitely, that is a thing. It does exist, that culture differences within relationships can be problematic. But if both people are willing to acknowledge that first and then kind of work towards how do we bridge that gap, because that bridge and the gap is going to be real wide between the cultures.
So can I muddy the waters a little bit, Paul?
Oh,
Yeah.
here.
Go ahead, girl. Go ahead. And then
You
Emmy,
know,
if you
I
want
like
to
to have fun. I just like to kind of go.
bring it, bring
So
it.
so in the Bible,
Lord have mercy.
I'm just wondering, like in the Bible,
Mm-hmm.
weren't the Israelites told to stay away from the Philistines?
They were told to stay away from a lot of
Yeah.
groups.
I'm just saying let's just choose one. Were they not
They
told
were. They
Yeah,
were.
but
for
I
the
would dare
purpose
to
of
ask
what?
what were the reasons.
That's why I said for the purpose of what? Was it culturally
Not
that they were not in
no, it
sync?
wasn't.
What was it?
Idolatry.
Because
Idolatry.
but he didn't want them to mix with unbelievers. That's why.
But
Is
that's a
that but is idolatry a part of the culture?
yes.
Yes.
So is
Of
it
unbelievers, yes.
because of the cultural issues that he's saying stay away from a certain subset?
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to ask the question.
I mean,
I'm
and I
I'm I'm sorry. I got distracted.
I don't think it was specifically for culture in and of itself. I think it was the practices of their culture why he didn't want them to mix. I don't know if it was specifically for the culture in and of itself.
But what makes culture absent action?
mm-hmm.
Kind of question was that?
A real one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ask that again.
How
Ask it
do you
again.
have culture absent action? It is the things that's done that creates the culture.
All right.
Culture doesn't just come out of osmosis. There are
Okay.
practices, that's actionable things, right? That's
Okay.
done. So
So,
idolatry is an action that was done, and the Lord was saying, stay away from that. So if we see that there are some practices that may be happening within a particular culture, going back to your initial question, would I want my children to be a part of that?
there we go now. There we go now.
Absolutely not.
Hence again. I'm going to go to Emmy, and then I'm going to go up to Doc for a second. Um, uh, Emmy, it doesn't matter who you're dating, who you're currently dating, who you date later, who you dated in the past. What is it that you want them to understand about you and your culture, whoever it is?
I think for me, it mixes in with like the unit of my family. Because you see me and you can see a Dominican and happy and loud or whatever. And that's not what you get at all. So perhaps the idea of the culture that you're going to date into or marry into, it's appealing to you, but that's not what the reality of it is. Um, And then I also saw that somebody says like socioeconomic barriers like go into that as well. And I say that because in a lot of Hispanic or just Latin cultures, we see that there's a lot of young women dating older men uh, for money, better statue, things like that. And since moving to the DMV, I feel like a lot of men tend to go for younger Hispanic women, specifically if they are coming straight, let's say like straight off the boat and not Americanized, because they're easier to be, in my language, tamed. For me,
Wow.
that is not the case. I put myself through college. I've learned a lot. I'm very Americanized, I can say. And so with that, I am very independent. I can do it on my own type of woman. But I want to be held. I want to not have to do it on my own. I don't do it on me because I want to. It's because I have to.
Oh,
And I think a
oh,
lot
oh,
of men don't understand that.
Sade. Sade said, I knew, I don't want to think. I don't want to, I don't want to think. I don't want to think. Hey, Doc, I'm going to ask you this. Doc, I'm going to ask you this. I know you talked a little bit before about culture and people passing by what God may have in store for them, right? Um, do you think that we make a lot of mistakes today on choosing because of past trauma, because of parents saying this is what I want? You understand where I'm coming from? What's your mindset on that?
We can't hear
Oh,
you.
oh, 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 oh. Mm-mm. Somebody says Sade got a kindred spirit. I
That
don't
looks
want
fine.
Sade. I don't want you hanging with Emmy. Okay, I don't want y'all hanging together at all.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think a lot of times when we get to people, we're looking for them to fill the void that we have. So when we coming together, we're doing this. They're fitting in, fitting the pieces in, and then we come in there, and a lot of that is what we call what trauma bonding. You see what I'm saying? You know, same difference I had, or my dad abused me, my mom abused me. Oh, guess what? I had abuse too. I suffered, and so we bond on that level. Neither one of us are healed, and so we come together solely for that. But when do we get help for? So yes, you come together, and nothing ever works. It doesn't work because you guys are not even um, prepared to deal with the level of hurt and the level of trauma that the other person has. So, yes, we find people that, I call it doing the familiar. This person feels familiar to me, so I'm going to go ahead and link up with them. This person feels familiar. They got the same background. They come from the same culture. They do the same things I do. But when you get together, it doesn't work. Yes, you can. I mean, hell, I'm divorced. You know what I'm saying? Leah's been divorced. Wes has been divorced. So, yes, that can happen. And I think a lot of times we pass by, like I always said, I have no shame in saying I knew that wasn't the right person for me. I knew it, but um, I put some things on the back burner and pulled out the others, or pulled out the one. And so by doing that, here I am 26 years later, divorced.
Mm-mm. So should we be detective? Should we be detectives about culture in another person? Oh boy, is it that deep? I mean, is it that deep that we should check culture? That we should find out more about culture? Is it that deep? Any thoughts?
I think you should check everything. I think you should run credit scores. I think you should look at a criminal background. I think you should look at all of that. It's just not. I'm serious. I'm being totally serious. You sit up here and it's like,
Wow.
oh, this person got student loan debt, whatever. Y'all get a divorce, that debt's still yours. This person has all of this kind of stuff. All of that stuff you have to look into. Look into their culture, visit their culture, hang out with them, find out what's going on with them. A lot of times we jump in, you like me, I like you, let's get married. then you get married, and then there's a lot of differences.
I think
Yeah.
people have
That's
to
just
think
my
about
opinion on it.
I think people have to think about what's important to them, right? I don't need to understand all of your culture. I
Okay.
don't care to, right? But I know there are things that are very important to me, right? So like one thing for sure is my family. And my family is not just my mother and my sisters. Like Thanksgiving, there's like 150 of us. I could not be with someone where he was like, "Oh, I'm not going to that. I don't want to go to Thanksgiving with your family. I don't," because to me that's something that's very important. So I have to understand your family dynamics and
Right.
understand, oh, how did you grow up? Like how did you experience family? But people have to, again, that's where the self-work starts, right? Like
Okay.
what is important to me that I want to see in my marriage? What are things that I want to reproduce in my marriage? What are things that are, we talked about non-negotiables last week. What are those non-negotiables culturally that have to happen in my marriage? People have to have those conversations and be honest with yourself about just what it is. Like if your family's weird, your family's weird, but be
Well,
okay.
So
I
what
think a
happens?
lot of
What happens though if you get together with
Let me.
somebody in the dating process? They go into all the family functions, then you get married and they stop going. Now what do you do?
Oh wow.
So
Oh
you don't
wow.
my family functions while we're dating.
You no. Yes.
So let me put it to you this way. My family has only met one person in my entire life because I'm very protective of that unit.
Or maybe you scared.
No, no, no. No, no, no. I'm very protective. My family is that family that you meet them and now you're part of the family. No, no. Let's make sure we're going down the right path. Things are going the right way. And that gentleman only went to one event in 4 years, right? So I think again, that's when you ask, and I think when we ask questions like, okay, so they do it in dating and then they stop in marriage, that could be anything, right?
Okay.
So I have to trust when you say, yeah, babe, we could go to. I'm not saying everything. We can go to Thanksgiving together. I have to trust that because I want you to trust when I say we can do Christmas with yours, that's what I'm going to do.
Right,
I
but
got
the
you.
but the question is, what do you do since if they're not going to meet your family before, and they're not going to any other events, and y'all done planned the wedding, y'all doing everything, and then y'all get married and be like, I'm not going to that. My family ain't never got together. I feel uncomfortable. I don't want to go. You can go do that yourself. Then the question remains, what do you do? Because I always feel that, hey, you need to kick the tires before you buy the vehicle. And I don't mean having sex. I'm talking about you need to
Check it.
make sure that what you're trying to do is that's the person for you. Look at their family. Ask, y'all don't have family reunions? What's going on with that? You don't talk to your
Mm.
sisters and brothers? What's going on with that? You got to ask all of those questions.
Can I say
Wow.
this? I look at my biological parents, my mother and my father. They have been divorced since I was 6 years old. My father longed for that. He came from a family where they didn't do Thanksgivings, they didn't do Christmases. Like that's to this day, my dad is at Thanksgiving and Christmas if it's in Dallas, Texas, because he became part of our family. No matter what happened, and I think again, that's when you ask, what is it that you want? Like, what does it look like on Thanksgiving for you? What does it look like? But you have to have intentional conversations, not surface level, but the
Right.
intentionality behind. I'm trying to understand what does it look like for us.
Before you come on, just for a moment, Adriana made a comment. You also made this comment too, Sade. Now we don't do family functions while dating. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. With my family, you had to be there. In dating, you had to be there, and I think that it comes to a point where you're mature enough to break up, and you break up with the family nicely, and the family breaks up with you nicely. And I say that, like, I give you an example. Quest, before you go on, Tamisha, Ali, Tamisha, Tamisha,
We went to high school together.
right? That's Patrick's girlfriend. Was Patrick's girlfriend from. She calls my parents, my mother and father, mom, and from Hanson Place. She's like a sister to me, like, straight up sister to me. And one of the reasons why I say that is because I think sometimes we don't know how to handle understanding each other's cultures. We don't know how to handle understanding certain things. Like she's never seen in her family. She goes to her Thanksgiving, and when she goes to Thanksgiving, they cut the turkey, so and so, whatever. You come to my house, we fight the uncles for money. We're fighting, we're tussling. These are things that we did, and she was able to see that. For me, I'm gonna tell you right now, I brought somebody around, and when she left, my family said, "Don't bring her back." Okay, I mean, and there were little things like just how she may have said this to my auntie, or how she may have done so and so, whatever. So for me, and I get where you're coming from, but for me, I just feel like I need to bring you around my family so I know that
I'm
you'll gel with my family. That's just me.
I'm
That's me.
completely with you on that, right? Like even when I was much younger, because my father and I were so close, I needed to know that you could pass daddy's test. If you wasn't, able to stand in front of my dad, you couldn't rock with me, right? Now Lonnie got off free because my dad was deceased by the time, but I think
Got all
they
free
would have got along
'cause-
great. But really, right? I need to know that you can actually, be a part of this family system and accept it with its flaws and all, right? Because we are all flawed human beings. No
Right.
one's perfect. There is no culture that is supreme, right? We all have our issues, but you got to know what works for you and vice versa. I don't want somebody falling in love with me and then they come to my family and see all the dysfunction and then they want to get up out of there. Now you need to know what's going on right up front, dude, and make an educated decision and vice versa, right?
So let me say this. When I say family, culturally, let's talk about culturally, right? When I say come around my family, I mean generations, right?
Mm.
You can talk to my parents. You can talk to
Listen,
my sisters.
listen, 39. Listen, 39. Well, what 50 and 50, over 50, over 50, over 50 and over 50 and over 50 is telling you 39. You got to meet my family.
And listen, I think it works for everybody has, but to me, like I said, you can talk to my mom and sisters. We FaceTime 52 times a day. If you're around, you're gonna be there. But to and have you around my grandmother, my great aunts, my like those people, that's a privilege. Like my mom and sisters come with it. Like that's the package. But to be around that family, and again, like I said, there was one gentleman. He actually went with me to my mother's birthday dinner, and we're not together anymore, right? But and it's okay
Then,
because everybody
then he had dinner. Then he had dinner.
and they thought he was cool, but I was like, yeah, no, that didn't work out.
Yo, Sade, the way I look at it, we don't got to agree, right? But the way I look at it, my man had dinner. That's it. Let me
And
give you
didn't
an
choke. Yay.
and then,
Um,
let me give you an example. My roommate was Ali, the dude in the middle. Oliver was my roommate. Um, there was something about his not even then girlfriend, that's now his wife, that Emmy, I knew for a fact that if this dude married her or got with her, she was going to be taken care of by the way that she was taught by her mother. Am I right, Ali? Okay. I'm going to give you an example. When Oliver ate, he was my roommate. When Oliver ate, I ate because she was taught, Denise was taught that if I'm going to make something for my man, I'm going to make enough for his roommate. You understand where I'm coming from? Or for his friends or what have you. And I just believe that, Emmy, if you are going to, or if Sade, if you are going to, I like the statement that I think Vernon made, cousin Vernon made. Um, he said everything got to be vetted. Every action has to be vetted. Yeah, and I know you believe that, Sade, and Emmy, I know you believe that also. That everything's got to be vetted. And I just think that everything can't be explained, but everything's got to be vetted. And I think we don't do enough of that even now. My father told me, I'm going back to the white and black thing for a moment. My father told me, I don't really necessarily want you to marry someone who's white. Okay, stay with me. My mother said to me, if you're going to marry someone, you've got to marry someone with a different language. You got to learn the language. That's it, right? You've got to learn the language. And but my father on the other end said, if that person doesn't understand your struggle, then you cannot be with that person at all. And my one last thing was years ago, I dated this girl from Mississippi. I'm gonna give y'all culture right now.
Decades ago.
Yeah. Okay. What did I say?
Years. That sounds more recent. Decades ago. Go ahead.
What? Decades ago,
Go ahead.
I dated this girl for, and I'm gonna listen to the difference now. So we were at this lady named Miss Misi. Was at her house eating. I was a freshman. She was a sophomore, and I asked her to share me a plate.
No,
Okay, I need y'all. I need you to hear this. I said, share me a plate. She said, I'm not sharing a plate with you. I said, just go ahead and share me a plate. Okay, let me pause there. Let me pause there. When I say to you, Quest, share me a plate, what does that mean?
make me a plate.
Fix it.
It means fix me a plate.
Pretty much.
We stayed there.
Pretty much. Makes me a plate.
We were there arguing about, she's saying to me, get your own plate, but we're not going to eat this out of the same plate together. Now, it may not seem like a big deal, but Jamaicans or West Indians say, yo, share me a plate, which means share out the food for me. And as I began thinking about it, I'm being straight with you. I know I know it's decades ago, but my mother said to me, y'all are very different. And I couldn't understand it. And when I went to visit her in Meridian, Mississippi, her family in Meridian, Mississippi, there was definitely a difference. Couldn't sleep because I couldn't even sleep in there because I couldn't remember no cars passing, rural joint. You understand where I'm coming from?
You can hear
And what do you say?
you could hear the grasshoppers.
You can hear the grasshoppers, and it was definitely a different culture. But I would have had to have loved her, and she would have to have loved me to that degree where the communication was tight, where I was open, and she would have to be open. I don't know if she's open to curry goat. You know what I mean? Like me, I didn't know about gizzards until I met her. You understand where I'm coming from?
Woo, get a fried gizzard. Come on.
And some gravy. Come on now.
Yeah.
Come on with some rice. Man.
Good evening.
No.
Thoughts, Ali. What's your thoughts?
I mean, I think, I think the other side of this too is we got to start holding people accountable to their growth.
That part.
Because it does. So hear me when I say this. I'm not dismissing trauma. I'm not dismissing cultural background. I'm not dismissing that. What I say is going to sound like it, but I'm just talking how I talk. I don't care what was going on with that woman prior. The question I have for her is, if the two are going to become one, there can't be no third party. So what are the two of us going to do to make sure that we grow and mature and craft strategy that allows us to move past all the stuff that we're bringing with us to the table and create something new? That's the other side of the coin. I'm not dismissing. Hear me, folks, because I'm not really trying to deal with nobody in the comments. I'm not dismissing the stuff prior. Let's be clear about that. I'm not dismissing the stuff prior. I'm just saying that me, coming from a Trinidadian father who at 89 years old has only said 100 words, so he's not a communicator, and coming from a shotgun communicator mother who speaks out of turn, I can't rest on that and just be like, oh, well, you just gonna have to deal with that. No, I gotta figure out How I'm now going to grow past that to actually be a communicator because that's what she needs, and not be a shotgun because that's going to kill my relationship. That's the other side of the coin, right?
Okay.
So yes, we got to take all of that into consideration. Yes, you should probably know some things, and I agree with Doc. You should know some things. I saw people saying you should be vetted. Yeah, that's cool. Do all that, but don't do that so you could be like, oh well, I don't have to grow because I don't want to deal with that. No, you're gonna have to deal with some stuff, so you're gonna have to figure it out.
Yes, sir.
But can I
Ali,
take that
I don't think we
step
people
further?
understand the fullness of what happens when you say, like, there's a text, and I don't know, like, when you were talking, it stood out strong in the midst of my head. For this reason, for the reason of marriage, for this reason alone, for this thing called marriage, shall a man leave his mother and father and cleave to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. There's some growing,
Mm.
there's some compromising, there's a whole lot in that word cleave, right? So I don't just get married and accept the status quo because I realize that the language of the kingdom is multiplication. Marriage is a kingdom statue. It's a kingdom pillar. And if that be the case, we just can't get into this thing and just, okay, we're married, we just stay at this place here. Every round goes higher and higher. Just when you think you are at a place where you plateau, difficulty comes in, challenge comes in for the purposes of preparing you for what the next level is going to be in this whole thing. So I'm with you on that
Yeah,
part.
but check this out, Quest. Right? Here's the thing, and the reason why I'm not dismissing all of the other stuff is because the other stuff will rear up in situations.
Absolutely.
It will. It will.
Where I was
And this is
gonna go.
this is the reason.
So,
Wh-
Quest,
wh-
that's where I was gonna go. Right, is where Ali is starting to go. Right,
wh-
and so here we go. When we're talking about culture,
Wait
that
a
means
minute. Yes, you have
Hold on. Wait.
finished.
Hold on. Quest. I
Sorry,
think you
sorry.
need to
Okay.
go ahead.
is it me?
No. 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 Mm.
Okay,
It's Quest. He's in Puerto Rico. It's the waves from the water.
okay.
His service is unequally yoked.
I- There's you, silly.
Go ahead, Leah.
But no,
I've been
where
raising my
I was
hand.
going with this is looking at it from a cultural place, right? So the verse that popped up in my head when I was listening to Ali, ooh, that sounds bad. When I was listening to Ali was train up a child in the way they should go. Is that me? Hold on.
Okay. Now we know it's Quest. Now we know it's Quest.
Okay, let me try
No.
it.
No. It's not Quest. It's not
No,
Quest.
No?
it's bad feedback from everybody.
Let's see if everybody cuts their mic. Okay, it's fine now.
I
Okay.
think it was. I think it was Quest in the Puerto Rican.
Okay, with the waves over there. All right.
The devil
Go
is
ahead.
a
Go ahead,
lie.
Leah. Go ahead. Go ahead, Leah.
But no, what I was saying is that my mind immediately went to train up a child in the way they should go.
Okay.
And when they are old, they won't depart from it, right? And so when we're looking at this thing of human behavior, we have the early formative years. Culture, right, is embedded from birth, right? 0 on, right? Until there is some sort of rupture that may take you or deviate into a different space. But for the most part, you're going to learn. I often say you are a plant in a certain type of soil, right? And then those nutrients of that culture is going to be right funneled into you and embedded into who you're going to become. So when we're old, right, we may deviate, we may learn, we may grow, we may challenge ourselves, but there are some things that are embedded in the gyri of the brain that is there, and it's going to come out again later. So where we can say, hey, I'm good and we're going to learn to do these things together. When you get old and something happens and you wind up getting called then what you gonna do? Right? How are you gonna react? How are you going to respond? Because you felt that you could immerse yourself or grow together in an environment that you knew in the beginning you might probably shouldn't be a part of. But
Uh-huh.
you wanted to do something different because society is saying, hey, give it a try, give it a shot. It's going to be okay. No, who they are is deeply rooted and ingrained in them. And so when we're talking about vetting this thing, we need
Yeah.
to know the history of this family. We need to see how they're functioning and operating right now. What is the soil that they're in? Because it's going to come out one day. And then you sit there talking about I'm in a marriage and I can't leave. What?
I got you. I got you. Des.
We can't hear you.
We can't hear you with your because we know it's your hair is getting in the way.
Listen, I have wrestled like Jacob and I have triumphed. Oh my goodness. Anywho, okay, all right. So I was off a little bit, but I was listening. This is my 2 cents. I think that it's wise, and I think most people do this. When you are entering, is that me?
Just go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, when you are entering into something that is so serious as marriage, that is till death do you part, it is wise to make sure you are giving yourself the best chance. Going into something so serious with someone who doesn't look like you, doesn't have the same culture as you got to explain so much to, on top of what marriage brings, you are setting yourself up for things to be significantly more difficult. So it is wise and I think normal for most people to try to give themselves the best chance by starting off as much on the same page as possible. However, everyone who has been in a serious relationship or married also knows things come up and things happen that are hard, no matter if you married a Martian or if you married a human or if you married a white, black robot. And things that I've experienced in my marriage, my prayer now for my boys, because I live by, if she can't share my comb, don't bring her home. Live by it.
Wow.
And and as bad as it is, like we were taught, marry somebody dark. Your babies ain't gonna have no color. If you gonna have any chance for your kids to have any color, look at your mama. You better marry somebody dark. Like that was drilled in us. You're never gonna be pretty enough to be the whites. You're never gonna be accepted by the blacks. Like drilled in us. So, these when you things that you experience in your marriage, I want my boys to be with someone who is willing to do those things with them. Whoever that looks like. In my mind, is it a black girl who understands what it means to be a black mom and raise black boys? Yes. But maybe it's Becky with the good hair who is going to hold him down and make sure that he's good. So that's my prayer is, I get it. We try to make sure that being born and raised in the South, I get it. When my sister and I graduated from Oakwood in 2006, colored was faded off the bathroom in Arab, Alabama, McDonald's. Like, I get it. And a white person's not going to understand. Well, may not understand. They may hear me. They may get it. They're not going to understand what that felt like, how we sat in silence for, I don't even know how long. Me and my sister both in the same car. We didn't break silence for I don't know how long. I don't know what either of us were thinking. They'll never understand that.
Let me share this. Let me share this with you before I go to Emmy for a second. Today, I got a text from someone who is looking for a church in South Carolina, Myrtle Beach. She says to me, "I need you to find," and this person is from Hanson Place. Okay, that's okay. So I'm looking for a church and so and so, whatever. I looked it up and I found this church, and I shared with her the church. She said, "Yeah, I was at that one." So what she was really asking for is that I need a church, a black church. Now I want to be clear now, right? If you come from Hanson Place, for those who know Hanson Place,
right
now that you're not going to this white church, but you're going to this black church, is that black church going to work for you? Because
it ain't gonna be Hanson Place.
Is not like Hanson Place.
It's not.
So when you look at this whole cultural thing, right? When you look at this whole cultural thing, I do think that culture is important. I do think that race is important. I think it all plays a part. But I got to go back to Doc for a second when I say, are we missing out on heaven because of race? Are we missing out on a great relationship because of race? Are we missing out on what God is giving us because of race?
P, I just put the thing in the chat. When we were talking about it before in terms of these cultural differences, who is Moses? A Jew. Who is Zipporah? A Midianite. Okay, an African, right? Were there cultural differences between them? Because we now talking about a relationship that was ordained by God,
Yeah,
right?
his sister
What?
laughed at her and got punished.
Okay, okay. So obviously there were some cultural differences, but what did they do to make it work?
That's kind of different, I feel like.
How is it different?
Because
If
my
we
man
read,
was in the wilderness with no water and she happened to be there. I don't think if she brought her Midianite self into the palace, like, what's up, Moses? He'd have been like, hey,
hold on. Did God
that
say
was
it was
all
good
that's
or
all it
not
was.
good? Did
Huh?
God say it was good or not good?
I wasn't there. I don't know. But that's all I
I'm,
read.
I'm, can I tell you
God,
this? Let me be clear. Let me be clear about Moses's. First of all, about Moses' marriage. Again, culture, right? Moses married Jethro's daughter. Okay,
Yeah.
I don't believe that had to do with love or anything. I believe that had to do with the fact that he got in the camp. He needs to marry the eldest daughter. I'm just going by culture. But
okay,
the fact of the matter is, she was different than him, as you're saying right now. She was not. She was darker than him. Okay, we know that based on what you just said, Des, that she was teased or whatever by Miriam. When we look at this whole
And when we
situation,
look at culture, though, Paul, I don't mean to cut you off. Think
yeah, go ahead.
about what she might have felt like
Hmm.
because she was outside of that particular culture. What did
Okay,
Sephora have to go through and endure? Now, I'm not saying that we don't have to endure things, but I mean to be scoffed at, to be laughed at, if we were to translate that and put that into today's times, right? Remember, I said race is a culture, or racism is a culture.
right,
Potentially, she could have been going through sitting in the seat, right, in the home with the maggots. I mean, MAGA, right? She could have potentially been sitting in the seat with individuals who saw Black people through a different lens. How did she thrive and survive? Were her and Moses fighting all the time? Right? Is this something that we're saying that we want to promote because we see it happening? If that's the case, we might as well promote polygamy because that went on in the Bible too. So again, I think we have to kind of center this conversation beyond, right? Just okay, this is what we saw.
Y'all
Now,
can't
culture
afford it.
I'm not.
matters.
I'm
whoa,
not.
whoa, 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 what?
You can't afford it. But I think one thing we have to do is we have to be okay with people being okay what works for them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like if it works for you, live in it. Do you? I'm telling you what
Mm-hmm.
in my house. I think when we say like when Terry was like, you could be missing out. I've never been attracted to a white man a day in my life. Like it's never happened. I've never looked at a white man and be like, oh, I want to marry, I want to date him. Let me put it to you this way. I went to Oakwood, right? Dropped out and went to Southwestern. I was at Southwestern miserable for 2 years because the culture was so different, right? So we have to be okay with people saying I don't want certain things and I do want certain things, and that being their choice. Like I can't put on you. I can have my opinions, I can have my thoughts, but if it works for you, let it work. I may not understand it, but it works for you.
Okay, okay. Somebody made a comment, right? Really, I hope I can say her name right. Chakra Khan,
Chakra
Miss
Khan.
Khan. Yeah,
It's like Chakra
yeah,
Khan, but chakra. Come
Chakra
on,
Khan.
Pastor.
She says, "So, what's the solution after the discourse?" And, I mean, we know for a fact, right? We know for a fact that God is not a respecter of persons. Okay, I love that right off the bat. I also love the fact that I think love Um, I think love knows no bounds. Okay, and I get it that we were taught certain things concerning culture. All right. Um, I'm going to be straightforward with you because the real answer to this is Christianity. That's the real answer to it. But what we're trying to get to is what Oliver spoke about it was what Oliver said in the first get go, and that was, hey, you know what? Can we talk about my preference? Right? Can we talk about my preference? Because my preference was not to marry someone taller than me. That was not
Mm,
that was not my
understand.
preference.
No,
All right. My preference was not to marry someone taller than me. I forgot I was going to ask you something, Emmy. I'll come back to you.
hey, Emmy.
But 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 I ended up marrying someone taller than me. Well, got to go to the list, right? Got to go to the list and cross that one out the list, not as an accomplishment and not as something that was overlooked, but now I got to now cross it out saying God has something better. You see? And I think that a lot of times when we pick what we want and choose what we want, we end up getting the sculptor of what we want, but we don't get the heart of what we want.
Ooh.
And I think that's where we mess up time after time again. And what happens, the sculpture can't last. It can't last. I was talking to one of my friends today, and she made a comment to me about, man, I cannot stand that my body looks like this now. I'm gray. I got to do my hair, and this and the other. And I said to that person, I don't know what's wrong with me. Maybe it's wrong with me, but I like
Come back.
I like mileage. I mean, sorry, Emmy, you young. Sorry, you young. If it ain't gray and got no stretch marks, I don't want it.
You said mileage. I was like,
That is not.
Let me help you. Let me help you clean it up. Let me help you clean it. You like a mature woman who's lived life.
You can say what you want to say.
He said, what
yeah,
he
but
said.
don't ever say what you just said again. That it don't mean the same thing. Like the culture thing you was talking about.
Yeah, that word. I understand what you're
Mileage?
saying, but that word for our younger guests,
Okay.
means body count.
Oh no!
Really?
I was listening to it in context.
Okay. Wait.
I like a mature woman
Was that by
who's
myself?
experienced.
Vintage? I don't know. Vintage? What? I don't.
No, you say young people. But here's the thing, though.
No. Hold on. I need the right word because I didn't think it was offensive. Because
It's not offensive, but people may that
They
the
hear it different ways.
definition that people will give to the word mileage is going to be different than what you thinking.
Because it's a different culture.
You like a mature woman who has lived
Chakra Khan. I like my turkey breast seasoned.
Too much. You almost had it. You was almost there.
I was almost there. Let me go back.
Like my women season.
Wait, hold on. Look at this.
You done called her a
Yes,
turkey.
too, Wendy. Like, what is happening? Just
Less is more.
We get it, bro. Keep going.
just seasoned and mature, bro. Just seasoned and mature.
All you got is raisins. That's it. You don't get no seasoning. Keep going. Raisins.
Is that it? Yeah, seasoned and mature. Somebody say just say it like the vets.
okay.
Prayers for you. All right. So either way, I'm going to say this. I think that choosing and being chosen for me had nothing to do with in my marriage had nothing to do with what she looked like. And I would say the same thing, probably the same thing for me. But my mindset is that I do think that we ought to walk in our preferences. I do think that we ought to consider our preferences. I also think we ought to consider. I think stop Saudi because if you were in Jamaica, you would have problems in Jamaica. So
This this way. Let me put it to you this way. I think it's
Anywhere
interesting.
she go.
I think it's interesting for married people to talk about like your preferences and be, but the real thing is, right? At 23, I had preferences. At 38, I have my truths. Right?
Well,
It's totally different.
no,
Someone recently just asked me. They said, "You know, what's on your list, baby? I don't have a list no more." I literally said, "God, whoever you have for me, bring him to me." Because
Sade, Sade, I'm
But
gonna interrupt
what
you.
if he white?
Ah,
here's the thing: I wouldn't even know him because he wouldn't be able
that's
to talk.
not true, Sade. That's not true.
You
He
pass
wouldn't
him
even be
right
able to
by.
talk to me.
But you just said, Sade, if God, you looking for who God brings, that
Right.
means he gonna walk.
He gonna walk. He gonna walk that white man. He gonna walk that white man that speaks Spanish.
Oh, oh God, oh God.
This is why I was saying earlier on, like for real, when we say, and hear me what I'm saying. I'm not saying that cultural differences are not important. But as believers, God could turn your world upside down and bring somebody into your life who you think is not culturally compatible to you, but you find out because of that one factor, and that's being a believer, and that Christ is in the middle of this thing. Bring this person into your life, and everything that you thought about marrying somebody that was culturally different, turn your world upside down through this one particular person. That's the
Absolutely.
reason why once again, I want to make sure I make this perfectly clear. I'm not saying that cultural differences are not important, but when we grab hold to that and dismiss the power of God and everything that comes along with Him in terms of finding you a mate, He could like, yeah, I know you got your little preferences and your little cultural stuff, but I'm God in your situation and outside of your situation and everything else around it. And if I want to bring somebody into your life that shatters everything that you believe about your cultural differences, I can do that, turn your world upside down and make you love him or her. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just don't want to leave him out of that and making our God our cultural preferences and not God our God. You know what I'm
So you're
saying?
saying,
And
Gotcha.
here's the
so,
thing, was
so wait,
he's gonna
wait,
give you
wait.
what you need, not what you want.
So
And
But
y'all
he
that's
was,
the
I will
telling
give
me,
you
problem.
the
Mm.
desires of your
Saying,
heart.
I
wait
want,
a
He
I
said,
minute,
want, I want.
wait a minute. So y'all are telling me. So because let me be frank and upfront. When we first started, I was like, oh, I want a 7-day Adventist man. That's cultural, right? So to Quest's point, God could bring me a man that worship on Sunday and be like, here you go.
hallelujah.
Right? So
And
we're
he
all
can
You
because
can.
he gave who was that? He gave somebody a prostitute. I can't. What was the name?
Jose and
Wes?
Gomer.
Uh-huh. Homer
Jose,
and
That was a bit
Homer,
Homer and
that
Homer,
Jose story was a
Jose,
bit much.
Jose.
Homer.
he gave my mama a Catholic and how he's a wonderful 7-day Adventist.
Yeah, I'm not in
So
the
can I
conversion.
just say something real quick?
Love you, Daddy. I love
Bring
you.
something back, Oliver. Bring something back.
No, this is great. This is great. This is I think what we need to do, and I
Mhm.
think that's it's sometimes it's tough for us to do this because human nature causes us to want to live according to our preferences, right? So I'm gonna use myself as an example. I was already married when this happened, so I wish I had done this before I got married, but I was already married when this happened. So I'm married, I'm wilding out, I'm living reckless and crazy, and in year 2, I decide, and not on my own, was a God thing, 100%, decide to get my life together. I was pointing the finger. She needs to do this. She needs to be this. She needs to act like this. I'm not talking about myself at all, right? What I had to do that caused me to have some semblance of sanity and
Hmm.
to put me on a path of growth is I literally started repeating every day, creating me a clean heart
Wow.
and renew a right spirit within you.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
Listen, I only want to see what you want me to see, but at the same time, I need you to do the same thing for her.
Mm.
I'm not going to point no fingers at her. You deal with her, but please deal with me. And that was a game changer for me, right? along with some other things. I had some work that I had to do. And so I'm saying all that to say this. It is true. God, if you pray the prayer, God, send me who you have for me. Also pray the prayer, God, prepare me
Yes.
regardless. It's gotta be if
Well, that's
you're gonna commit your ways to him, knowing that the backside promise of committing your ways to him is that he's gonna direct your path. The human nature in me is when you show me the path, I'm gonna be like, no, that's not what I was talking about. I was talking about that path. So in order to not buck up against that, the subsequent prayer has to be prepare me
hear
for
me.
when you do direct me that I will accept.
Okay. Okay. And you know what? You see, here's the thing. That was my question to wait. That was my question to Emmy. I was going to go back.
Push
Let me
that you
bother Emmy
sprinkle.
for. Yeah, yeah. So Emmy, the question is right. Oh, wait, hold up. Before I do that, Emmy, we forgot to take a share break. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So for all those who are watching right now, first of all, we're grateful that you're with us right now, and thank you. Just looking at these numbers, thank you so much for just being on. We're going to ask you to share this with 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 people. Share with someone. Let them know that although we're about to land a plane, we're really grateful if you share this with others at this point in time. Okay, I missed that time because what's his name is not home. Quest is not home to hit the bell. But he is in Puerto Rico having a great time. So
Hey.
Emmy, that's right. So Emmy, I want you to ask you what are you prepared for in a relationship? What are you looking for in a relationship? Um, right. What are you looking for in a relationship? What do you want in a relationship?
Um, I think it goes along the lines what I think his name's Ali was saying. And it's just
He
stuff
said
like
Dominican. That Dominican came out. Ali. I'm gonna start calling you Ali. That's it, Ali. Right?
unlearning, unlearning myself in a sense because I know that I bring, certain baggages that necessarily make life harder for me than what life's supposed to be. Um, so unlearning myself is something that I feel like I have been doing ever since giving my life to Christ. Not only saying it, but living it. And so whatever God has in store for me, I'm willing to accept, whether it's hurtful, whether it's not, whether it's for my own benefit now, whether I understand it right now or I understand it in 10 years. But I'm willing to grow and I'm willing to accept whatever He has for me. Um, because when I think about my preferences haven't landed me anywhere safe.
Wow.
And
Oh my gosh.
you guys were talking about vetting, but at what cost do I vet? Do I stay with somebody and I have for 3 years where I bring them around my family and it feels off and that person is at the furthest corner and then I'm hearing it when we get home. I was in an unholy matrimony. When we get home and it's like, I don't even want to bring you around, but I have these feelings for you and my family now knows you, so I kind of have to make it work. And I was in it for 4 years. 6 months of those years, the last 6 months, I felt out of love completely and I chose myself. And so now I have me. So now I'm my own preference. I know what I want. And what I want is something that is going to build upon me. I know my struggles. I know my flaws. I've learned it. I know how to be a good woman, essentially, quote unquote, on whatever that may be, based on my culture. But I also know what I deserve.
Wow. Wow. I'm gonna say this, and I love that what you just said because you put me in the mind of not just someone who's single, but someone who's also searching single. Okay. I look at someone like Sade and I said, Sade is single. Sade is putting some, for me, is putting some foundations down. This is what I want. This is what I'm looking for. I will not negotiate this. Okay. And many times I believe that single individuals, single people looking to be married, do this because of a past issue or I don't want to be there anymore. But let me tell you what's frightening about this, especially as we start getting ready to land a plane. Um, just because you've been through something before doesn't mean this next journey is the right one either. You know, I find that God has a funny way of still putting us through the ringer to make sure that we come out as pure gold. And I think that when we look at our preferences, whether it's white, whether it's black, whether it's, and I'm going to share something with y'all too, and this could jump us somewhere else, but I'm not trying to do that. Emmy Sade, let me look around the clock. Emmy and Sade, growing up in this church, no one wore jewelry. No one. It was considered no one. Okay. All right. Imagine me marrying someone because of my spiritual preferences or the way I was taught, the way I was brought up and what have you. And I marry someone who didn't wear jewelry. And they didn't wear jewelry because we grew up in the same church. We grew, we had the same kind of cultural Adventism. I'm telling you today that I've seen more jewelry in the past 5 years that I have not, and I'm not saying it's wrong. Trust me, I'm a minister of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. I'm not saying it's wrong. What I'm saying is, what happens when Wendy says to me, "Oh, I want to put some studs in because she got this fly cut now, right? She doesn't have the locks anymore. She's got this fly, but I want to put and I say to her, nah, you can't do that because we didn't plan that 24 years ago. Mm-hmm. We didn't talk about that 25 years ago. Oh, we talked about that. I'm sorry, 25 years ago. How should I allow you to do this now?" I think a lot of times our preferences is in the wrong things. I do. Because if I allowed her religious freedom in my relationship, then I would allow her to be who she needs to be when it comes to her and God. And I think that many times my preference to be married was jacked up, totally jacked up. Pastor, watch this now. When I got married, you needed to be, when I became a pastor, you needed to be married as a pastor.
Yeah.
So who was to say that was one of my preferences that has nothing to do with what I want, but it's a preference to do with my job, my social construct. You understand where I'm coming from? I think that our preferences, Sade, our preferences, Emmy, anyone who is single and thinking about getting married and wanting to get married, you've got to be able to not just subtract with that person, but you got to also be able to grow with that person. Mm-hmm. And I think that for many of us, we're not willing to, I'm not even saying compromise, to go up and down in the journey instead of saying, this is not what I wanted, you got to go. This is not what I wanted, you got to go. And when we talk about preferences, whether it's white, whether it's black, whether it's Hispanic, whether it's Adventist, and I'm going to say this, you can get upset at me. Anybody can get upset with me if they want to. I'm sorry. Hold on a second. Hey, baby girl. Hey, baby girl. Hey, my daughter. You sweet thing, you. Okay, here we go. That my issue basically is, and I'll be honest with you. My preferences would have been different, I think, if I wasn't a pastor. I think my preference would have been different if it wasn't a pastor. And many of us spend our time making the person who we want them to be. And that would never work in a relationship. Would I marry someone white? I probably wouldn't. I just probably wouldn't. Would I marry somebody Hispanic?
You could.
Yeah, I probably could. Mm-hmm. Would I marry someone from Africa? To be honest with you, probably I wouldn't. I'm just being real with you. Mm-mm. Okay. Would I marry someone straight from yard? Probably wouldn't. I'm talking about me, y'all. Would I marry someone who understand yard? Yes. You see where I'm coming from. So, what was your I would quest? What was your I would quest?
To the African, to
Oh,
the
we know.
well, I'm married to a Hispanic already, so I'm sorry, Latina. You know what I'm saying? I'm married to a Latina already. You know what I'm saying? But African, hell yeah, they built different. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But
I
I
knew
think
it. I
in
knew
that,
it. As soon as
Preferences,
What?
preferences. I'm sorry.
and
Leah,
I
did
think
you?
that's what we have.
you to the corner.
I think that's what we have to stop doing is judging or punishing people because their preferences aren't our preferences.
Mhm.
You're right. You're right. You're absolutely right.
Entitled to desire whatever you desire. Is that what God's going to bring you? We don't really know. But and I say this with full transparency, there are people who have biases or desires based off of fully just what a person looks like. And at this point in life, if that's what works for you, that's what works for you. My job,
Oh, it's not going to work.
but no, that's not my job to convince you of that, though.
Right.
That's not my job to try to change your mind. That's not my job to try to, hey, do what works for you, my
So
I
here's what I thought of when I was listening to y'all talk.
first of all, I hear you, Sade. I'm hearing you, Sade, on that one. Okay.
I think that the preferences come from a fear or something that you want. I think it would be wise to look into the preference. So, example for me, my preference was marry somebody dark. Well, why? Because I felt like I want to be sure that my kids look black. So, and the reason why I want to make sure they look black is I want them to feel like they belong. So when you do that, it's like I want my kids to feel like they belong. They can feel like they belong. They don't have to necessarily look black. Who I married is not my preference. Who he married is not his preference. He likes girls like this. I ain't never been like this. I like them tall, skinny, kind of ugly. That's me. That's not him.
Yeah, I think too, though. I think your preferences can be like your goals, and they can be unrealistic. And so, while you out here dancing around looking for a certain thing, it's how they say sometimes you date out of your league.
Dang.
Ooh.
Date someone
Honestly, I've
else.
never heard that. Actually, no, Dr. P, I've never heard that.
Well, I wasn't speaking. I wasn't speaking specifically to you, Des. But if you throw a rock and a pack of dogs, and the one holler got hit. So anyway,
I only dated one person.
That is a nice shirt, Des. It would actually go with this hat I'm wearing. Anyway,
Oh, I didn't even put my joint on. Oh man.
say this.
I want my custom one tonight.
I just wanted to make sure. I don't even know if my. Let me send my address again. But anyway, I think a lot of times we have unrealistic goals,
Yes.
realistic preferences that keep us, single and wandering around out there in the wilderness looking for something. And you really got to check yourself and say, you know what? Is this really can I really have this? Can I, am I thinking too much? And sometimes we do. And so a lot of times you sit here and then, you out here, just walking around looking for something that will never materialize because your goals are unrealistic. Your preferences can be what they are, but a lot of times the goal is unrealistic.
I'm going to go with Sade, and I'm going to go with Sade. Oh, no, hold on. I'm going to go with Sade, and Lee, I want you to land the plane, please.
This is what I will encourage all single people to do because this is what has impacted my life at this season in my life. I have someone where, let's say I'm interested in somebody, right? I can go to this person and I can say, well, I don't like this and I don't like that. And then they'll say, okay, well, tell me what. Like sometimes you need to talk through whatever it is that your hangups are, whatever you feel like is this isn't worth exploring, this isn't worth doing. Because sometimes people can identify in you the things that are scaring you about a person, right? Sometimes people can help you see, okay, you're being superficial with this thing, or this really isn't realistic, or this isn't really something that you have to build a foundation on. So I would encourage, especially single women of a certain age, to have a more mature woman in your life who sits you down and says, all right, let's look at this path. Let's look at this person for who they are genuinely, and then make decisions based off of that. That's all I would say.
I like. Okay, I like. Leah, close us off, hon.
I guess, and I don't know if it's gonna close us off or what, but
Let's start more
I
crack. That's what
was
you're gonna
just
do.
listening in, to things that were being said, and we were talking about preferences. Um, it seems like there's been kind of like a negative connotation placed on cultural, right? Preferences or aesthetic preferences, those sorts of things, right? And so when I looked at this, I'm like, okay, is it okay for me to like strawberry ice cream and not vanilla ice cream? Do I have the ability to prefer that because it is palatable to me, right? Is there something wrong with that, or am I allowed to do that, right?
Okay.
So when I hear the same thing being talked about, right, with the cultural differences or what I won't do or what, right, and how we're kind of interspersing or tying in Christianity or divine appointment with my preference, I'm like, are we taking this too far? Or am I allowed to just like what I like? Right? I like a dark-skinned brother. It ain't had nothing to do with because I was light-skinned or because, I wanted whatever. Like in my family system, my kids coming out looking like straight white women with blonde hair. And right. So we understand a genetic situation, but I like what I like because it is pleasing to me when I look at that thing. And I see nothing wrong with that, right?
I don't see nothing wrong.
Hey, with a little bit. So, but then you have this settling part. And I'm wondering, are we confusing settling with who God is just so happens sending you and you might be missing out? Could I potentially be settling because I'm afraid of being alone?
Woo.
Because I'm in that wilderness for way too long. Am I settling? Right? Or am I still able to hold on to my preferences and just kind of wait till I get what it is that I desire? I had to wait 14 years before I got my husband. And I sat and I waited for 14 years. And guess what? I got my chocolate. And right?
Is there cream filling in the chocolate?
Okay.
I'm asking you a question. I'm just asking her.
Watch yourself.
I'm asking if it could just be all chocolate.
Just why?
Why?
Dr. Paul Graham.
I say this every week.
Help.
Can you imagine what our text message thread is like? We have a text.
I got milk chocolate, and yes, there's cream filling. Well, there was.
Poor Emmy's like, is that my pastor? Is that my pastor?
Now you go support the doggone it.
Emmy, la 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 la.
No,
this is great talk. Great talk. When you were married,
no. Like and you know what I like? I really like the fact that, and which I'm going to close off with everyone around the clock will answer. I say this too about Wendy all the time, and I'm okay with saying this. I know she's holding her breath right now, but I didn't marry the same person. The person that I'm with now is not the same person I married.
Of course.
And well, I'm not just the journey, but even in aesthetics.
Oh yeah, the tatas.
You on your third or fourth marriage right now. Which one?
I'm sorry.
What you say, Chris?
I said, which one you on? You on your third or fourth marriage with Wendy now? Which one?
Brother, I'm gonna tell you right now. Listen, it's terrible that when she gets up in the morning and she showers, I'm still like peeking. You know what I'm saying?
Terrible. That's a good thing.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Why peek, Pastor? If you froggy, jump, bro.
What I'm saying to you is that not only will God give you the desires of your heart, but He can sculpt the desires for you. Okay, and I really believe, honestly, I really believe that what Oliver started with, where Doc went, where you closed off with just now, Leah, is, yo, let me tell you something. When you talk to God about what you want and he gives you what you want, the next problem, and maybe we could talk about this next week. The next problem is maintaining or going next level with what God gave you. I think a lot of us, when we get married, we're just like, all right, I got this person, great, and we don't do any work. And that's where, Oliver, you and your wife comes in. I'm not trying to be funny. Not to mention, hold on a second. I just want to throw this up there real quick. Hey, I'll talk about that real quick before I get my last question.
March the 23rd, DMV. We need you to come out in Columbia, Maryland. Grown and Sexy Conversation, music, spoken word. Actually, one of one of Unscripted's own will be there with us as well in the conversation. We need you to be there. So I'll put the link in the chat.
Please.
23rd, Sunday, March 23rd. Wonderful date night experience. If you're in the DMV, come through. It's gonna be nice, good music, good vibe,
Man,
good conversation, spoken word. We're gonna have a good time.
Definitely. Wendy has been putting it out there for everyone to be there. We've got a lot of couples coming out already, so we just want to keep on pushing that for sure. And thanks, Mia, for being a part of that, man. We're looking forward to that. I'm going around the horn real quick. I'm going to ask this question since we're talking about preferences, whether you're married or not, whether you want or not, or what have you. I'm going to start at the low end with Emmy. Then I'm going to go all the way up to Sade. And then when you answer, I'm going to kick you out of here. All right, I'm going to kick you out of here. Emmy, the question is, we're going right around the clock. The question is, your preference in a sentence form. What is your preference for Emmy for marriage?
In marriage, not the person.
Either one.
Okay. And the person, loving and intelligent.
Wow. Okay. Loving and intelligent. Gotcha. Emmy, thank you for joining us today. We're a little afraid because you were the baby of the bunch today. You were the baby of the bunch today.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for joining us. Okay.
Thank
Your
you for
answer
having me.
was loving and intelligent. We'll see you, girl. We'll see you. Wonderful. It's great to see Emmy on tonight. Great to see her on tonight. Des?
Me?
Yeah, what is your preference?
I would say protector, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and provider.
Protector and provider. Wow. Okay. Wait for us in the green room.
Yes, sir.
Ollie, what's your preference?
What's my preference?
I'm just scared. You know what I mean? Just before he answers, for all those who are on right now, it's about 50. For those who are on right now, we're going to ask you, as we're answering around the horn, what is your preference in a mate, marriage, or in a mate? What is your preference?
Drop it in the chat.
Drop it in the chat. Thank you, man. Drop it in the chat. Go ahead, Ollie.
So very easy answer, man. When these cameras shut off, I'm going upstairs to my preference. So if you want me to describe what that is,
no, I'm good.
Let me tell you what that is. So
Okay.
So for people who don't know what that is, right? My preference is someone who will consistently drive me to be better without making me feel like I'm not. I see y'all next Sunday night.
Later, boy. We're going later, boy. You could just drop something like that and walk out of here.
Ooh.
Don't even wait in the green room. Just go. I see you in the green room. Just go, man. Just go. Just go. Dang. Doc, come on.
Oh, it's to me.
Yes, sir.
Again, my answer is always going to be respect, mutual submission, and somebody who actually likes me.
Mm.
Somebody who actually likes me.
That part. That's a good one, Doc P.
Wow.
I like that.
You gotta like me. We can get to love, but if you don't like me, there's no need to go past that.
Wow. Wow.
And it needs to be genuine.
I hear you. I hear you. All right, babe. We'll see you in the green room. Come on, Leah.
Why you lean over to the side like, oh,
I'm scared. I'm just scared. I'm scared of all of y'all now. I'm scared of all of y'all now.
Actually, I was going to say something very similar to what Terry had said, right?
Mhm.
Except for I was going to use the word love, right? Someone that loves me when I'm unlovable.
Ooh.
There's going to be times that I show up, right? That, it may not be palatable for him. And so he's able to push through and still remain with me. And then I need somebody that's funny. My husband's hilarious. I love to laugh. He loves to laugh.
He is a
Listen.
He is crazy. And I didn't know. I didn't know.
No idea. I had no idea Lonnie Love was that hilarious.
Lonnie Love, Jesus.
Look, and don't even have to try, like just a natural. So it helps me because I am in a profession that is of high stress.
Oh, okay.
So he becomes my peace, my laughter when I come home. It helps to kind of bring me down and center me again. So I needed that. And then lastly, someone that was going to love my children, because if you can't love my kids, we can't be together.
I got you.
Yeah.
I like what you said. Love me even when I'm unlovable. We'll see you in the green room, sis.
I don't know why you do this to me. What?
I'm going to finish off a quest. So
it's on me.
It's on you, Red Lips. Go ahead.
So my preference. I always say my covering, right? That's always my go-to. But I've dealt a little deeper, and what I realize is I don't have wants anymore. I don't want God to give me what I want. I need God to give me what I need. And my preference is a man who I feel the love of God through him. Right? When it's tough, when it's easy, when it's good, when it's bad, I still feel the love of God through this man. A safe place to be Sade, because Sade can be a lot. And I need a safe place for all of that to happen and it still be okay.
Wow. Wow. And you need a soft place to land.
And I'll say this and then you can kick me off. What I've realized, right, is that I'm in a place where I desire someone where I can be a soft place.
Wow.
Where I can be my most vulnerable, most transparent, most Sade self. And he still says, I choose her every day.
Wow. I choose her every day.
Every day.
Gotcha. Get out of here, girl. We'll see you in the green room.
Bye.
Peace. Quest. I know you're on vacation. We're not going to stay long in the green room. I know you're on vacation. And I want to thank you for coming. I want to thank you for coming on while you're on vacation.
Oh, we good. The night is just begun for me, so we good.
Yo, I love learning. Yo, I'm serious. I love learning.
Can I share this with you as we dive in just a little bit deeper?
Yeah.
All of those things that all of those people said,
Mhm.
from Dr. TP to Leah to in terms of what they require, all of those things come under the umbrella of marriage when you look at it the way that I look at it in terms of an acronym.
Okay.
What is marriage? MARRIAGE. Mutual arrangement requiring righteousness and intimacy after God's example.
Wow. 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 Wow.
Mutual
Hold on, man.
arrangement.
Hold on. Mutual arrangement.
Let me help you.
Go ahead.
Mutual arrangement
Hope I spelled that word
requiring,
right.
requiring righteousness and intimacy after God's example. When you look at marriage from that perspective, from God's
Mhm.
example,
Mhm.
all of those things are included.
That's beautiful, man.
Because for me, I require respect. I
Okay.
prefer someone who respects me, not just because the fact that I'm a husband and a father, but respects me as an individual.
Mhm. Mhm.
There's a lot that we can do if you respect. Like I've watched women disrespect men in certain parts of my family. And I think for me, that's why it's such a big component of who I am. I treat people the way that I want to be treated, specifically in relationship. We may not always see eye to eye, and there may be times where it may be outright difficult and challenging for us to accomplish anything. But if you respect me and I respect you, and we can communicate, not calling each other out their name, I'm looking to understand where you come from because I already understand where I come from. I see too many times, P, where we get in the fullness of our emotions and just let our emotions run wild and make the decisions as to how we handle. The good is the good. You and I ain't complaining when we getting booty by the pound. We not
Mhm.
complaining when our wives are talking to us the way that we want to be talked, or when they're doing what we think they should be doing. What happens is it becomes difficult when it gets a little the sandpaper. You know what I'm saying? We're not
Sure.
seeing eye to eye. You doing stuff I don't think you should do, right?
Right.
Those are the moments where the respect comes into play, or how we operate in terms of the fullness of respect. So not to be long-winded, right? When I'm looking at this institution, this staple, this thing that God created called marriage, when I'm looking at it as a mutual arrangement between me and you requiring righteousness and intimacy, and I'm looking at it from that place, from God's example, not my example or your example or social media or wherever we get our definitions from. The example is laid out throughout the word. Just read the word. The examples are there. Principles, practices, policies, you name it, it's all in there. When we look at it from that place, then all of that other stuff is included. So
Hmm. Listen, man, I just want to simply say that I love learning.
you
I
and me
love
both.
understanding. Man, it's amazing how you could take a concept
Mhm.
and leave knowing that you can be better with the concept.
Mhm.
So I'll share with you before we go that in my marriage and my non-negotiable
Mhm.
is that I want for my wife to I want to be vulnerable to my wife. And here's the
Is that
part
your
now.
preference, for you to be vulnerable?
No. That's not the preference yet.
Okay, okay.
But for her not to take advantage of my vulnerability.
That part. That's part.
Okay.
That part.
And we sat and talked about this at a diner as friends, saying, if I got married, this is what I want. I want to be able to sing songs and not feel funny about it. I want to be able to sing this, that, and the other. I want to be able to act up. I want to be able to do this, do that. I want to be vulnerable without you taking advantage of my vulnerability.
That's it.
That's our value system. And to be honest with you, anytime the rubber meets or does not meet the road, or the sandpaper hits, I go back to that because maybe I feel like that, or she wasn't doing so and so, whatever. But I'm gonna stand on that right now, to be with someone who I can be vulnerable with and not take advantage of my vulnerability. Hey, Quest. See you in the green room, my boy.
Love y'all, man.
Yes, peace. And so, everyone, we want to thank you for joining us. Share this with someone. Share this with someone. Know this, that we just want to make sure that we're having the conversation. So people may ask the question, what's this all about? This is all about having these necessary conversations. Be blessed, everyone. We'll see you next week.